You ever see a spoiled rich kid throw a pool party so loud it rattles your windows? Then watch her cry as the health department shuts it down mid-cannonball? Yeah, that happened. And the best part? She had no idea her quiet neighbor, the one she kept mocking, was the police chief. I didn't move to Alder Ridge for drama. After 23 years on the force, working my way up from patrol to chief of police, all I wanted was a quiet cul-de-sac, a patch of grass to grow tomatoes, and maybe the occasional barbecue. That's it. I thought I'd earned that peace. Turns out, I'd bought a front row seat to the Madison show. Madison Langford. 20 years old, home for summer break from whatever overpriced private college her daddy paid for. Her family moved in 3 weeks after me. Big white Colonial, luxury SUV, always some delivery van parked out front like they were ordering furniture by the truckload. Her dad, Travis, worked in finance, or so he said, and wore boat shoes with no socks. Her mom, Elaine, had that tight smile some people give when they're being polite, but thinking, you don't belong here. And Madison? She was just loud and entitled. The music started the second she unpacked her bikinis. At first, it was minor. A little late-night bass, guests double-parked in front of driveways, shrieking laughter that echoed off the hedges. I'm a patient man. 23 years in law enforcement will either make you patient or bitter. I chose the former. I gave it time. Figured she'd settle in. Then came the overheard comment that shifted everything. I was watering my tomatoes when I heard her on the other side of the fence. Can you believe they let that move in next door? That. Not him. That. Her friend with a laugh like shattered glass chimed in. Maybe he's like the gardener or something. I stood there, hose in hand, and just let it soak in. Both the water and the bile. I didn't say a word. Not yet. 2 days later, I left for work in full uniform. Unmarked cruiser, badge polished, name tag gleaming. Madison and her friends were sprawled across their lounge chairs like reality didn't apply to them. Until they saw me. That laughter? Gone. Eyes wide. One of them actually dropped her iced coffee. I tipped my cap and got in the car. In the rear view, I saw Madison whispering furiously, her friends panicking like raccoons caught in floodlights. Game over, right? Nope. That evening, Travis Langford showed up at my door with a bottle of Merlot and the fakest smile money can buy. Chief Harmon, we had no idea. So honored to have you in the neighborhood. Suddenly, I wasn't that. I was Sir. They weren't sorry for what they said. They were sorry I heard it. For 5 days, things were calm. Then came Tuesday. I was in my home office on a video call with the mayor when the music started again. Midday. Thumping bass. Girls screaming like they were at a club. I looked out the window. Madison, Brittany, and some redhead were tossing plastic cups into the pool like it was a college frat house. I stepped outside and said calmly, "Hey, would you mind keeping it down a bit? I'm on a call." Madison stood in her designer swimsuit, water dripping, hands on hips. "This is our pool, our property. If you don't like it, maybe you should move somewhere. Quieter." Now, I've had guns pointed at me. I've talked murder suspects down off rooftops. But there's something especially infuriating about being disrespected by a brat who thinks she owns the sun. I walked away that day, but I knew what was coming. And I started documenting. Every party, every violation, every insult I could hear through the fence. And oh, did they keep coming. "You know what?" Madison shouted one day, loud enough for 3 blocks to hear. "I think we'll party every single day this summer. It's our right." And her friend Brittany, whose dad owns a restaurant chain, by the way, yelled, "If people don't like it, they can go back to wherever they came from." But the real turning point. That came when Mrs. Evelyn Porter, 83, walked over from across the street. She's lived here for 4 decades, baked cookies for every new neighbor, organized charity drives. She approached Madison's door with a walker and a smile. 5 minutes later, she walked back in tears. Madison shouted after her, "Did you see that old bat? Maybe she should move to a nursing home if she can't handle some fun." That was it. I made 3 calls. 1 to Detective Ramos, my most by-the-book officer. "Take decibel readings today. Be exact." 1 to code enforcement. "I want every violation documented. Parking, capacity, unpermitted gatherings." And 1 to health and safety. Time to inspect that pool. At 3 p.m., Madison was back in her throne, drink in hand, phone in the other, live streaming her nonsense to God knows who. By 3:30, she noticed the officials lining the sidewalk. At 3:45, Brittany asked, Mads? What's going on?" Madison looked up from her floaty and saw Detective Ramos holding a sound meter. She panicked. "Wait, this is harassment." "No, ma'am," Ramos said. "This is enforcement." Citations came fast and hard. $500 per noise violation, $150 per illegally parked car, $750 for exceeding occupancy limits, health violations for pool safety. Total, over $8,000 in fines. And the pool, shut down indefinitely pending investigation. That night, Travis came over again. No wine this time, just sweat and desperation. "Chief, come on. She's just a kid. Isn't this a bit much?" I looked him in the eye and said, "She made Mrs. Porter cry. This ain't about noise anymore. It's about decency." The next afternoon, I opened the door to a different visitor, Madison. No makeup, no entourage, just jeans and a hoodie. Her voice was small. "Can I talk to you?" I let her in. We sat down, and she told me how she'd called her grandmother after the fallout, told her everything. And her grandma? She told her, "You sound like every brat I ever taught. Is that who you want to be?" Madison cried, said she didn't want to be that girl. Said she was sorry, not because of the fines or the embarrassment, but because for the first time in her life she saw herself clearly and didn't like what she saw. I told her, "Words are easy. Change is hard. Prove it." And to my surprise, she did. No Instagram apology, no staged photo ops. Just action. She helped Mrs. Porter in the garden every Sunday, donated to the neighborhood cleanup fund, babysat for the Martinez twins when their mom got called in on a double shift. When her old friends came back to town mid-July, they rolled up with speakers and coolers, ready for more chaos. Madison stopped them at the gate, told them, "We don't do that here anymore." Brittany called her a traitor. Madison just smiled and said, "No, I finally grew up." By the time she left for school in August, the neighborhood had changed. Or maybe we had. She left a handwritten note on my porch. "Thank you for holding me accountable, for treating me like someone who could be better." 6 months later, a graduation card arrived in the mail. Social work degree. Planning to help underserved communities. The girl who once laughed at my tomatoes now wanted to fix broken systems. I pinned that card next to a photo from our block party. Madison, smiling, handing lemonade to a new Somali family, showing their daughter how to plant flowers with Ms. Porter. Sometimes justice isn't about punishment. Sometimes it's about giving someone a mirror and letting them decide who they want to be. And sometimes, the loudest pool parties leave behind the quietest lessons. So what would you do if you were me?